It has begun. Japan just pulled the plug on the global economy. While the world was distracted by the Greenland tariff and the falling petrodollar, the silent giant of the East just made a move that will haunt every bank account on the planet. On January 20th, 2026, the music stopped. Japan, the world's largest creditor, the nation that has funded the West's debts for 30 years, just pulled the plug. This isn't just a policy shift. It is a sovereign death spiral that is liquidating the global leverage machine. The free money era is officially dead, and Japan is the executioner. Today, we are breaking down the Sanaenomics shock, the collapse of the JGB market, and why the yen carry trade unwind is about to trigger a margin call on the entire world. If you think your wealth is safe because you don't live in Tokyo, you are about to receive a very rude awakening. To understand why the world is shaking, you have to understand the Sanae Takaichi effect. Japan's first female prime minister didn't just walk into office, she walked in with a sledgehammer. Her doctrine? Crisis management investment. A $135 billion spending plan, tax cuts on food, and a complete suspension of fiscal discipline in a nation with a 250% debt to GDP ratio. The market's reaction? Pure, unadulterated panic. We are seeing a Liz Truss moment on steroids. Japanese 10-year and 30-year bond yields have just surged to their highest levels this century. Investors are looking at Japan's debt mountain and realizing the math no longer works. When the world's most stable bond market begins to act like a volatile penny stock, the global risk-free rate is destroyed. The stabilizer of the world's financial system just became its biggest threat. For decades, the world used Japan as a petty cash drawer. You borrow yen at 0%, you buy US Treasuries, Bitcoin or Nvidia stock, and you pocket the difference. It was the easiest trade in history. But as Japanese yields hit the death zone of 2.5%, that trade has turned into a suicide mission. The yen carry trade is unwinding in real time. On January 19th, the sharp ratio of global leverage collapsed. Large funds are now being forced to sell their US assets, their winners, just to buy back yen and close out their loans. This is why Bitcoin just got rejected at the $100,000 mark, and why Wall Street is seeing flash crashes in broad daylight. Gravity has returned to the markets, and its name is the Japanese yen. Here is the part the mainstream media won't tell you. Japan is the largest holder of US Treasuries. For years, they bought our debt when nobody else would. But in 2026, Japanese banks and insurers are facing a domestic crisis. They need to shore up their own balance sheets. They are no longer buying US debt, they are selling it. This is the Great Repatriation. As Japanese capital flows back home to chase higher domestic yields, the US Treasury is losing its best customer at the exact moment it needs to fund a record-breaking deficit. This is forcing US yields towards 6%. Your mortgage, your car loan, your business credit, they are all being repriced by a bureaucrat in Tokyo. Japan isn't just pulling the plug on their economy, they are pulling the plug on the American dream. We've seen this movie before, but the 2026 version is much darker. In 1991, Japan's asset bubble burst, leading to 3 lost decades. But back then, the rest of the world was healthy. Today, the world is fragile, bloated with debt, and hyper-connected. When Japan's long bond yields surge, it's not just a Tokyo problem. It's a systemic contagion. We are seeing a negative spiral, where higher yields lead to higher import costs, which leads to more inflation, which forces the Bank of Japan to hike rates even further. It is a feedback loop of doom. The carry trade was the glue that held the global liquidity bubble together. That glue has just dissolved. So, how do you survive the Japanese avalanche? In 2026, liquidity is king. When the carry trade unwinds, everything that was bought with borrowed money gets sold. Equities, crypto, real estate, they are all vulnerable to the margin call. But gold and physical silver? They are the only assets that don't have a counterparty in a Tokyo bank. As the yen and the dollar fight for survival, the golden lifeboat becomes the only place to hide. While the world's currencies are being sacrificed to save the bond markets, your physical stack remains outside the blast zone. In a world where Japan has pulled the plug, you need to be your own power source. The Great Liquidity era didn't end with a whimper. It ended with a Japanese bond auction. The plug has been pulled. The leverage is draining. The margin calls are in the mail. We are entering a period of volatility that will redefine the next decade. Don't be the one caught holding paper promises when the world's biggest creditor decides to pack up and go home. Watch the yen, watch the JGBs, and for God's sake, keep stacking. The system is breaking, but your wealth doesn't have to break with it. The sun is setting on the old financial order, and it's rising on a new, golden reality. Subscribe to channel.